Morning, tubers. Here's what I got going on today. I'm working on my cx160. I've got a hydraulic leak, except it's not a pressure leak. This thing's got a 4BT in it, and when it's running, when it's sitting there idling, it shakes a lot. Well, Case thought it was a good idea for this suction tube right here to be aluminum. So from right there where the suction hose slips on that comes out of the bottom of the hydraulic tank, all the way up here where it goes in the pump is all aluminum. Well, it's cracked right here. It looks like it's cracked plumb in too. It ain't, but it may as well be. I didn't lose all my fluid, but it's close. It leaks a lot. Right after it runs, you know, there's always a little bit of pressure built up in the hydraulic tank. They pressurize a little bit. And with just that little bit of pressure in the tank, this thing will be sitting here and just running down all the time. And you'd see somebody done some grinding on it. This thing, I believe somebody's tried to repair it before and they did a poor job of it. Either that or that's grinding from when they made the thing. I don't know. They didn't grind this paint right here off, so I don't know. I've already got me a 10mm Allen head in there. Figured out what I got to have to get them bolts out. Anyway, I'm gonna pull the cap off, put a pump in there. Still up to about here on fluid. I'm gonna pump all the fluid out, save all the hydraulic fluid I can, because that stuff's kind of expensive nowadays. And I'm gonna take this suction tube off. That thing's $650 at Case, so that's out. I ain't buying one. What I'm gonna do, I bought another piece of this hose. That was 80 bucks just for a piece of that. Well, anyway, I'm gonna cut this sucker off about right here, and then I'm gonna come down here and cut it off about right here, and I'm gonna put a piece of rubber hose in there so it's a little more forgiving, you know, so it can wiggle right there when it's running. That way it'd wiggle here and it'd wiggle there. It'll kind of be like an isolator, so to speak. So that's what I'm gonna work on today, and I'll catch as much of this as I can for y'all. It's not a fun job. I've been procrastinating about it for about a month. This thing has been home a month at least. Been sitting down there, you know, away from the shop by the road. And you know, this is probably my nicest machine. It's a 2004 cx160, and I need the thing usable. And I've run it, I don't know, 4 years since I bought it, and ain't really had no trouble out of it other than that. And you know, I think that might have been leaking just a little bit when I got it, and it's just gotten worse. You see that? I made a mess. That's full enough. I believe that's about it. Looks like there was only about 15 gallons left in her. I'm sure there's still a couple down in there in the very bottom of the tank and in that big hose, but that's okay. We could lose them on a piece of cardboard right here, and then I'll burn that piece of cardboard. All right, it's now late in the afternoon, and I still had about that much fluid left in the bottom of that tank that other pump couldn't get. So I've got a piece of rod stuck down in there with a hose taped to it, and I've got one of these Harbor Freight pumps rigged up, and I'm pumping the rest of the fluid out of it. Alright, here's what it looks like inside of there. Now you gotta get that pan off of there. I've already got the clamp loose. I'm glad I took that pan down because there was a lot of fire hazard material in there. I put the pan over here, see? All them leaves and sticks and everything. That all needed to come off. So now I'm fixing to fight that thing and see if I can get it off of there. I'm gonna put some screwdrivers in there and see if I can pry it out. Well, here's where we're at right now. I've got the hole plugged in the pump. I've got the whole pan off of this thing so I can get this thing down where I can mess with it. I still can't get it out of that hose, and I don't want to split that hose because I got the new one that I got from the local case dealer, and it was like $88. Well, I discovered it is about 6 inches shorter than this one, just holding it up there and looking at it. So I can't cut this one because it took that other one about a month to come in. I think it had to come from overseas or something. I'll tell you this. I say I hadn't had any trouble out of this machine until now, but I have rebuilt the final drives. I put new pinions in them. Actually, I put more than a pinion in one of them, because one of them stripped and the other one did, and I went ahead and put a pinion in the other one as preventive maintenance. And that's further down in my videos. You go look at that. But I rebuilt the final drives with them on the machine. Well, I replaced the parts that were necessary. And anyway, I ordered all that stuff from a place I believe called, I think it's FDC or FTC, I don't know, I'll put it below. But all that stuff come out of England. But I don't know where this hose come from. I think this hose comes from Japan or something. But I think what I'm going to have to do is pull my pickup up here and run a ratchet strap out here and take a ratchet strap and put on that and pull with a ratchet strap to ever get that out of there. So that's what I'm fixing to do. Alright y'all, I've got it off. And here's what I've decided to do. I'm going to cut this tube right here and right here. And I'm going to run a piece of hose from right here to right here with clamps on it. Doesn't matter. Both sides turned out about as straight as I can ask for. Now don't go doing this with a Metabo just because that's the way I do it, because it'll get you hurt. It's not the safest thing to be doing. Alright, here's what I'm talking about. Cut some grooves on there just like that. And then, because this is the same size, I'll put a hose over it. It'll get clamped. This will be about 7.5 inches long. And I'll be looking at the same thing on this end. Now that's going to allow a little bit of vibration resistance, you know, within this thing. Because the way it's set up now, these wells want to break. I don't know if you can see down in there where that's put together, but it wants to crack because it's just butt welded. And I can't have that. Can't have that happening anymore. I'm tired of that. I don't want no more of that. I can push that hose up over that, and I get a clamp up here, and I get another clamp down here below it. I've left myself room. And I think we'll be in business. Well, I should have caught this sooner when I was cutting it, but I really didn't. Found out this ain't aluminum. It's really stainless, which is good news because I can weld it myself. And it's still cracked from there all the way around here. But I may grind this down and weld it up, and then grind this down and weld it up, because when I'm done, I don't want to have this big ridge on here because I'm putting a hose over it. So anyway, I'm fixing to grind this weld down and V it out, and I'm gonna weld it up with a stainless rod, just with a stick. I used to weld stainless with a stick all the time. That really ain't no problem. I got a pretty good groove in there. I'm not going to groove the whole thing at once. I'm going to weld that up. I'm going to mark it with a Sharpie real good. I'm going to weld that up. Then I'm going to grind this out and weld it. I think that'll work. If I'd have welded that with a 1/8 rod instead of a 3/32, I could have filled it all in at once, and then when I ground it down, this would all look pretty good. But at this point, it's a mechanical connection. It's not going to leak because the hose is going to come up here. I just need this to not break off because it's going to be clamped here and here. I really think this piece is about good enough. I might take a grinder wheel and just clean up just a little bit right here. I don't know. Pretty good. Now, I'm fixing to take this temperature sensor out of here, and I'm going to take a marker and put me a mark around there, and I'm going to weld me a bead right around there for the hose on this end to slide over. Case, or Sumitomo, shall we say, Case and Linkbelt are the same. They had done this, and that's what I was going to do here, but that's too much trouble. So I'm just going to weld a bead around there, and then I'll file that bead down and sand it and smooth it up, and that'll be good enough to put the hose past and put a good clamp on it. And that'll be alright, that'll be satisfactory. I may bring y'all back for some of that, I don't know. I believe that's got that. Oh, it ain't got to seal it. It'll seal because of the clamp. All it's got to do is give that clamp something to go behind. It's not real pretty, but all it is just a little barb, and I'll put a belt on the sander, and I'll sand it a little bit, make it a little nicer. But yeah, it's good enough. I think while I'm at it, I may go ahead and weld a little one around the end of this. Probably should. That's really all that's necessary. I'll clean that up, polish it off a little bit more. Just something to let that clamp set behind. I believe that is nice enough. And the sun's coming out, so I'm fixing to quit. I don't work in the sun. But that is good enough. I'll clean it up by hand in here just a little bit. Then I'll wash these out and let them dry, and I'll put them on tonight. Get this traco back going. That's all that's got to do. It don't have to seal it. Just got to give that clamp a place to go behind. That's it. That's all we need. It ain't even got to be that good. It ain't got to be as good as it is. All right then. I'm going to get out of the sun. All right, tubers. I've got a hydraulic hose on my traco that I can't get off. And if you see this contraption right here, that's how I'm gonna get it off of there. It's a hydraulic suction hose on the tank, and I'm putting a new one on it, but I want to save it. I'm redoing how the suction line goes into the pump here because these are bad about breaking, and I've just re-welded this one, and I'm gonna put an extra piece of hose in here, but I'm gonna replace that hose too, coming right out of the tank, so it's more pliable, because I want a hose with better flexibility. But I want to save this in case I need it in the future, because that's an extremely expensive hose. And you can see where it goes on the bottom of the tank here. Well, it's got some ridges cut in there. You know, it's not like a nipple. It's not humped up. It's got ridges cut into it, and it was double clamped. So that hose is really on there. Now I've took my hose pick here and I've loosened that hose, and I've got it where I can turn it, but I cannot pull it off. I am not enough man to pull that off of there. I finally did pull the rest of this intake manifold out of that other end, and that was trouble. And what I've done here is I've got a ratchet strap on this hose, and I've got it run out here to my car. And I'm gonna set y'all up somewhere here and show y'all what I do. I'm fixing to go crank that ratchet strap tighter, and then I'm gonna come back here and I'm gonna reach in here and twist it a little bit, and then I'm gonna go tighten it up, and then I'm gonna twist it a little bit until I get it off of there. It's really a chore, and I know somebody else has had similar trouble on a hose that they did not want to cut. I want to keep that piece of hose. That's a $200 hose. Okay, here we go. Okay, I have got a whole lot of tension on that. I'll show you. See, I've got that tightened up and got all kind of tension on it. And I'm fixing to reach in there and turn that hose a little, if I can. Yep, I can't turn it much, but I can turn it a little. It's not letting me turn it because I got so much stress on it, pulling on it. I just felt it move. Let me look under there. Oh, it definitely moved. Hey, it come off. The thing just flew off. Look at there. Let me take you off the tripod. I got it off of there. So, the ratchet strap trick, that worked. And I didn't hurt the hose. Now I'm going to show you what it looks like on the bottom of the tank there. See what I'm talking about? It's got them ridges machined into it so that it don't get blowed off of there. I mean, this is a suction hose, but when you shut the machine off, a little bit of pressure builds back in the hydraulic tank. You know, that's just the nature of the beast, and it actually does something. It keeps some back pressure on the tank so that water doesn't get into your hydraulic tank. And anytime you want to open the system, you have to push this little valve here to release the pressure, or you'll get a big poof when you loosen a hose or when you take the top off to put fluid in it or something. Anyway, if you're having trouble getting a hose off of something that's shoved over a fitting, I don't care how big the hose is, just get you a ratchet strap. I just run that chain around under the tire on my car and hooked it up to that little Harbor Freight ratchet strap, and I pulled that hose right off. And I want to tell you, you ain't pulling off that by hand. There just ain't no way. Ain't no man got enough power to pull that hose off without taking his knife and cutting that hose. And you look up in the end of it, that hose is undamaged. But I'm replacing it because I've got a new one, and I want all this to be ultra flexible so this doesn't break again here at this 90. Alright, I got me a short piece of hose right here I'm fixing to put up on there, and then I've got to make a clamp to go up here above that weld. And by make a clamp, what I mean is I'm going to take one of these T-bolt clamps and I'm going to grind a little bit off of one edge of it so that when I put it on there, it doesn't dig in to the underside of that 90 right there. I'm going to have to clock this around something like that to tighten it. So I'm going to have to mark this and then take a grinder wheel and just cut a little bit at a time away from this strap so that it doesn't interfere with the bottom of the 90 right here, because I need a clamp up here and a clamp here. That's the way I want it. I made a video about how I got this old hose off of here, this suction hose coming from the tank. I've got a new one here, and instead of getting it at the case dealer, I went to the linkbelt dealer, because this hose is literally half the price at linkbelt, at least locally. There's the part number, cx160 if you can't read it. So that's the part number. I wanted a brand new hose because I want it to be more flexible, but I used a ratchet strap to pull that hose off, because on the bottom of the hydraulic tank it has a fitting like this, and that hose had been clamped on there for 20 years. This is an 04 model machine. This is 2024. So it gave me quite a fight getting it off of there. And I wound up rigging up, excuse me, put a chain around under my car tire and run a ratchet strap up under the machine. And I hooked it on that hose and started pulling and then rotating the hose a little bit. Now I did lubricate that hose a little bit. I took my hose puller here, my pick, and I sprayed a little bit of N-Force in there behind it. It's made by BG, and that made the hose where I could rotate it on those right there, but I couldn't get it off, not by hand. Had to use a ratchet strap. Anyway, I'm gonna go modify one of these clamps. Okay, I decided that I might ought to show y'all how I'm going to cut this clamp down where it'll clear that radius on that 90. See, I got it marked there. And matter of fact, I did grind on it just a little bit. I'm going to do it real slow. But I basically put it around this old Cummins idler pulley and tightened it up so I don't deform it. And what I'm going to do is I'm going to bolt it to my anvil here. And I'm just going to grind that a little bit at a time with a flap disc. All right. Put in a washer and a nut underneath here. I just want to hold this steady and not have to use my hand to hold it. That's tight enough. And again, I'm using this variable speed. It's a Chicago Electric 7-inch sander polisher. I would not use a high-speed hand grinder for this. See, this has got the button, and you can change the speed. So you can basically run it as slow or as fast as you want. And I want to run it slow, so I don't heat this up. I gotta go get something else. Okay, I'm looking for something. I had a Milwaukee drill out here yesterday with a little flap disc on it that I was going to bevel the inside of this with, and I'm looking for it. So I'm fixing to pause the video again and continue looking for it. I've got to have it. I did go find something that may be of interest. I'm sentimental. I decided instead of using a wrench or a ratchet wrench, you know, a ratcheting in wrench, to use a ratchet on that right there because it's a tight place on the machine. And I wanted to take the opportunity to tell you all about this little ratchet. Now my dad, he passed away in 2016, but he bought me this ratchet at Western Auto. It's a Wizard, made in USA. I've never seen another like it. When I was about 5 or 6 years old, I remember him taking me there and buying me this ratchet. He just wanted to buy me something, and I've always kept up with it. Out of all the tools I got, that little Wizard 1/4-inch drive ratchet is my prized possession. I would get rid of any tool before I would get rid of that one. But I'm gonna use that with a little deep barrel socket to put this on. But anyway, I'm gonna pause the video a minute and I'm gonna find this drill. It's here in this mess somewhere. Good news, good news, good news. I found the drill. I had took it in the house. I went in there and looked for it earlier and couldn't find it, but that's where it was. I went in there and looked one more time, and it's in there by the couch. I take my power tools in, my cordless tools in a lot because this shop gets to about 120 degrees inside, and I feel like that's bad for them. I'm going to bevel that inside edge a little. That feels pretty nice. I don't think anybody will be able to tell that that wasn't a factory-made clamp in the future. I think that'll work. That'll let me put that on that 90 without having any trouble. Okay, got something else that's real important to do, y'all. And that is put anti-seize on these bolts, on these clamps. I'm going to put some on that one and back the nut back off of it. I'm going to squeeze this one in, put some on it. These are not exactly completely terrible, horrible clamps. I could have probably used one of them up there. They don't have the serrated holes in them like a radiator hose clamp does. But I feel good about what I got up there. Alright, I got me a glass of tea. Got everything I need to do this now, including my daddy's little ratchet there. Alright, I got this all put back together. I put it back together without you because I really couldn't fit the camera in here over my shoulder and get good video. Right here's that clamp that I cut down. I don't know how well you can see that, but you'd see why I narrowed the clamp. That way the radius of this 90 wouldn't interfere with it. Now I've got 2 clamps on everything, and this thing is now flexible. So when this thing's running, it's not going to break something. This should have never been a solid tube all the way from here all the way around and up here, because that 4BT shakes too much when it's idling. So if you got a Traco and your intake tube, your suction line is broke, consider putting you another piece of hose up here somewhere. Cut it in 2, put you another piece of hose in there. That's what I've done, and I'm certain that it's going to work. I'm going to put fluid in this thing and crank it up. Well, it's time to finish this thing. Again, I just keep a water bottle over there a lot of times because this pressure relief valve on the hydraulic tank, you can get a little water in there. You don't want that. Usually there's pressure and that won't happen, but I don't want to take a chance on it. I'm fixing to pull this cover off this hydraulic tank, and I'm going to mop out the bottom of that tank. This has never been done to this machine, I'm sure. So I'm going to do it. This machine's got 10,000 hours on it, and I bet this cap's never been off. Just from looking down in there with a light, I could see that there's just a little bit of granular trash. And I know the screen is supposed to catch that, but that's not good enough. Yeah, how about that? There's what it looks like down in there. Now I'm not pulling that strainer yet. There's a strainer down there. Let me fix the swivel here where I get y'all closer. See? I'm just going to mop the bottom of that tank out a little bit. There's more fluid left in there than I thought. There is a drain on this hydraulic tank, a little drain, and I think I'm fixing to use it. Okay, what I was going to show y'all, there is a drain right there, a toolless drain on this hydraulic tank, and I'm going to use it, and I'm going to get the last little bit of fluid out. I really thought I had it all pumped out, because I wasn't losing anything else out of that hose through the strainer. Okay, now we'd see the bottom of the tank. And there's just a few little specks in there. I don't know if this is focusing. Let's see. It's pretty clean. But you see right there in the left side of the picture, there's just a few little fragments, looks like bugs or something. I don't want that in there. I want the next 10,000 hours to be clean, so I'm going to clean this out. And here goes a new t-shirt, another mop. Trying not to disturb my screen, because I don't want that stuff going down in the suction tube and getting in the hydraulic pump. All I'm interested in is mopping that little bit of debris out of there. T-shirt on the end of a stick does a good job. At least most of the time it does. Most people never clean that screen. I'm going to at least lift it up and look at it. Okay. I guess I'm going to pull the screen. Oh yeah. Here we go. Yeah, that screen has got some debris in it. See all that? Looks like little pieces of rubber. I don't want that in my machine. So I'm going to find something to wash this out with. I don't know what that's going to be yet. probably a pan of gasoline. That's nice. There's a lip in there. So when you pull the screen, you're still not dropping debris right in the pump, right in the suction. There's a nipple sticking up about 1 inch right there. So now I can get in there and wipe that tank out really good after I clean this screen. Well, I ain't got any gasoline here. I forgot I carried my gas jug over at my other place. But I've got some diesel fuel that's questionable because it's been sitting out in the rain in this jug, and these spouts on these jugs leak. So I'm going to use diesel fuel to clean this. Darn, that jug's heavy. I think that's about enough. That seems to be working. I'm making the diesel dirty. It looks like little pieces of rubber is what it looks like. I figure it's pieces of gland seal and stuff from the cylinders. There's still some in there. Getting better. It does have a hole in the middle. So if you ain't careful, you get trash inside of it. Got an O-ring right there. I believe I'm going to blow that out with an air hose and see where we're at with it. Okay, I got the fluid back in it. I wanted to show y'all something here. I did put the old fluid back in it, or at least most of it. I filtered it with paint filters, and I just wanted to show you how good they work. I got all that crud right there out of the old fluid using paint filters. So don't just go pouring your old fluid back in. Get you some paint filters and put in your funnel. Another thing I want to show you, I've just got my camera propped up here. Alright, what I use for a funnel most of the time is a 2-liter bottle cut off. And just cut it in two, and I keep up with the cap. When I'm not using it, I put the cap back on it, and then I put the bottom right back down in it, and I lay it in there with all my hydraulic jugs and oil buckets, and I've always got a clean funnel. So there's that little piece of information for y'all. Now I've got this tank full of fluid. I'm fixing to start this thing and see if we got any leaks. This is a first start. I hadn't started it at all. It's just something I had laying in there to keep rain off of it. But anyway, I'm gonna go around here and start it up Y'all holler if there's a leak right there, but you're gonna have to holler real loud. Get over here where I talk to you. Well, y'all see when that 4BT goes back to idle, it shakes a little bit, and that's why I want that extra piece of hose in that hydraulic suction line. I'm fixing to clean up all my mess. I've still got quite a mess right over here, a bunch of oil buckets and stuff. I'm gonna clean my mess up the best I can, and I'm gonna move this machine over to the pit where I can start using it to put some shale on my road. I won't use a JCB all the time. I mean, that JCB is great for taking down big trees and great for digging hard shale, but this machine's faster. Anyway, thank y'all for watching, and consider subscribing. I'll be into a lot more stuff. I'm really trying to produce more videos. It's just up until now, I have been working in subdivisions for builders, and I've been too busy. And it's kind of hard to record content when you're in a subdivision trying to make a lot of progress. Y'all have a good day.